When Diana opened that cardboard box in her sister's garage, she had no idea she was holding the answer to everything. 6 months later, her own children wouldn't recognize the woman she'd become. The eviction notice felt heavier than it should have. Diana Brennan stared at the orange paper taped to her apartment door in Fishtown, her hands trembling as she fumbled with her keys. 44 years old, and this is where life had brought her. Standing in a narrow hallway that smelled like old carpet and somebody else's dinner, reading words that might as well have been a death sentence. Failure to pay rent for 3 consecutive months. Vacate premises within 72 hours. The door to apartment 3B cracked open, and old Mr. Patterson peeked out, his watery eyes full of pity. Diana wanted to scream. She didn't need pity. She needed a miracle, a job, a time machine, anything but pity. "I'm fine," she said before he could speak, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack her face in half. Inside her apartment, cardboard boxes were already stacked against the walls. She had been preparing for this moment, even while hoping it wouldn't come. The living room looked like an archaeological dig of her life. Boxes labeled kitchen, books, kids' stuff, each one a monument to what she was losing. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Mum, Marcus needs new cleats for soccer. Can you get them this week?" Diana sat on the worn couch, the one she had bought 15 years ago when she and Robert were still married, when she still believed in happy endings and retirement plans. She typed back, "We'll figure it out, honey." Then she deleted it and wrote instead, "I'll try my best." The truth was more complicated. Her bank account showed 237.42s. Her car needed an inspection. Her phone bill was overdue. And in 72 hours, she needed to be out of this apartment. The job at Morrison's department store had ended 3 months ago. Restructuring, they called it. Diana called it what it was. They fired everyone over 40 and hired college kids who would work for minimum wage and no benefits. She had been a store manager for 8 years, and they let her go with 2 weeks severance and a "thank you for your service." She had applied to 43 jobs since then. 43. She had a spreadsheet to track them all, color-coded by status. Red for rejection, yellow for no response, green for interview. There were no green cells, mostly red, with a sea of yellow that might as well have been red. Diana walked to her bedroom window and looked out at Frankfurt Avenue below. Even in October, Philadelphia had a way of feeling alive. People walked dogs, carried groceries, lived their lives like the world wasn't ending. She envied them. Her phone rang. Rebecca, her younger sister, who'd always been the responsible one, the one who married a dentist and bought a house in South Philly with a finished basement. "I talked to Greg," Rebecca said without preamble. "You can stay with us. The basement has its own bathroom, and there's space for the kids." Diana closed her eyes. This was it. The moment she became the cautionary tale, the sister who couldn't keep it together, the divorced mum living in someone else's basement at 44. "Diana, you there?" "Yeah," she managed. "Thank you, Becca, really. I just need a few months to get back on my feet." "Take the time you need," Rebecca said. But Diana heard something else in her voice. Concern, worry, maybe doubt that her older sister would ever get back on her feet. That evening, Diana picked up Lily and Marcus from their father's house in Mount Airy. Robert had remarried, of course. Melissa was 32, worked in marketing, did yoga, and had never experienced the joy of shopping at a thrift store out of necessity rather than irony. The kids climbed into her 2008 Honda Civic with the check engine light that had been on for 6 months. Marcus immediately put in his earbuds. Lily stared at her phone. "We need to talk," Diana said. Lily didn't look up. "About what?" "We're moving. Just for a little while. To Aunt Rebecca's house." Now Lily looked up. "What? Why?" Diana gripped the steering wheel. The truth or a version of it. "I lost the apartment, but it's going to be okay. Aunt Rebecca has space for us, and I'm going to find a better job and—" "This is so embarrassing," Lily said. "Where am I supposed to tell people I live? In a basement?" "It's temporary," Diana said. "Everything with you is temporary," Lily shot back. "Temporary apartment, temporary jobs. When are we going to have something permanent?" The words hit like a slap. Diana wanted to defend herself, to explain that she was trying, that the world wasn't fair, that getting divorced and starting over at 40 wasn't exactly part of her plan. But Marcus was silent in the back seat, his jaw tight, and Lily was already scrolling through her phone again, done with the conversation. They drove through the city in silence, past Temple University, down Broad Street, past the murals that made Philadelphia famous. Diana had always loved this city, its grit and its heart, the way it never apologized for what it was. She needed some of that energy now. At Rebecca's house, a brick row house near Passyunk Avenue with window boxes full of mums, Greg helped unload boxes. He was kind about it, but Diana saw the look he and Rebecca exchanged when they thought she wasn't watching. The look that said, "How long is this going to last?" The basement was finished, with grey carpet and white walls and a small bathroom. Rebecca had even put fresh flowers on the dresser. It was nice, it was generous, it was humiliating. That night after the kids were asleep in the small bedroom next to hers, Diana sat on the edge of the bed and let herself cry. Not the pretty crying from movies, but the ugly, gulping sobs that came from somewhere deep and hopeless. She was 44 years old. She had $200 in her bank account after paying for gas. She had 2 kids who were losing respect for her by the day. She had a sister who pitied her, and an ex-husband who had moved on to a better life. Rock bottom, she thought, was supposed to be the lowest point. But Diana was starting to realize that rock bottom had a basement too, and she was living in it. Diana stood in front of the Reading Terminal Market at 5 in the morning, watching her breath make small clouds in the cold November air. The massive building loomed above her, its arched windows still dark. She clutched a paper with an address scribbled on it. Market Maintenance Office, lower level. This was not the job she had imagined when she updated her resume, but it was a job, and that was more than she'd had in 3 months. The interview had lasted 7 minutes. The facilities manager, a tired-looking man named Vincent Torres, had barely glanced at her application. "You okay with nights?" he asked. "Yes." "Weekends?" "Yes." "The work is cleaning. Floors, bathrooms, vendor stalls after closing. Nothing glamorous." Diana had wanted to laugh. Glamorous. She was living in her sister's basement. Glamorous had left the building a long time ago. "When can I start?" she had asked. Now, 3 days later, she was reporting for her first shift. $10 an hour, 6 nights a week, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was enough to buy groceries, put gas in her car, and maybe, eventually, save for a deposit on a new apartment. Vincent met her at the employee entrance and handed her a navy blue uniform shirt and a time card. "You'll be working with Lou," he said. "He'll show you the ropes." Lou turned out to be a 60-something man with a grey ponytail and a laugh that sounded like a car that wouldn't start. He had been cleaning the market for 15 years. "Used to be a session musician," he told Diana, as he demonstrated how to use the industrial floor buffer. "Played guitar for some big names back in the day. Then my back gave out, my wife left, and here I am making sure tourists don't slip on pretzel grease." He said it without bitterness, just fact. Diana appreciated that. The market was strange at night. During the day it was chaos, tourists taking photos, locals grabbing lunch, the smell of roasted pork and fresh donuts and Pennsylvania Dutch pretzels all mixing together. But at night, it was a ghost town. Their footsteps echoed off the high ceilings. The vendor stalls stood empty, metal shutters pulled down like closed eyes. Diana's job was straightforward: sweep, mop, empty trash, scrub bathrooms, wipe down tables. Her back ached after the first hour. Her hands were red and raw after the second. By the third hour, she wanted to cry, but she didn't. She kept moving, kept working, kept thinking about Lily and Marcus asleep in Rebecca's basement, about the $237 in her bank account that needed to become $300, then $500, then enough to matter. Around 2 a.m., Lou called for a break. They sat on a bench near the famous 4th Street delicatessen stall, drinking terrible coffee from a vending machine. "You're not bad at this," Lou said. "Most people quit after one night." "I can't afford to quit," Diana said. Lou nodded. "Yeah, I get that." He was quiet for a moment. "You got kids?" "2. Teenagers." "That's rough. Teenagers are expensive. Mine are grown now, thank God. One's a teacher in Pittsburgh, the other one doesn't talk to me." He said it casually, but Diana heard the hurt underneath. "I'm sorry," she said. Lou shrugged. "Life's long. Maybe she'll come around." He stood up, tossed his coffee cup in the trash. "Come on, let me show you the secret of this place." He led her through the market, past the closed Amish bakery, past the flour vendors and the spice stalls, to a corner near 12th Street. There, a small office had a window overlooking the main floor. "That's Dolores Huang's office," Lu said. "She runs the Merchant Association. Been here 30 years. Started with a tiny dumpling cart, now she's got 3 locations in the city. Know what her secret is?" Diana shook her head. "She pays attention. Every morning she's here at 5, watching who buys what, who stops at which stall, what people are looking for. She learns. That's how you win in this city. You pay attention, you learn, you adapt." Diana looked out at the empty market, trying to imagine it through Dolores Huang's eyes. What did she see that others didn't? The rest of the shift passed in a blur of cleaning and aching muscles. When 6 a.m. came, Diana clocked out and walked into the grey Philadelphia dawn. The city was waking up. Joggers on Market Street, delivery trucks rumbling past. The smell of coffee from corner shops. She drove back to Rebecca's house in South Philly, let herself in quietly, and collapsed on the basement bed without even taking off her shoes. When she woke up at 2 p.m., her whole body screamed in protest. She limped upstairs to find Lily eating cereal at the kitchen table. "You look terrible," Lily said. "Thanks, honey. Love you too." "Seriously, Mum, where were you?" Diana poured herself coffee. "Working. I got a job." Lily's expression shifted, something like hope flickering across her face. "Really? Doing what?" This was the moment. Diana could lie, could make it sound better than it was. But she was tired of lying. Cleaning. At Reading Terminal Market. Night shift. The hope died. Lily's face closed off again. "Oh, it's a job," Diana said, hearing the defensiveness in her own voice. "It's honest work, and it pays." "I didn't say anything," Lily muttered. "You didn't have to." They stood there in Rebecca's kitchen, the silence heavy between them. Diana wanted to explain that she was trying, that 43 job applications hadn't led to anything better, that the world wasn't kind to divorced women in their 40s who had spent 15 years in retail management. But Lily wouldn't understand. How could she? At 16, the future still looked limitless. Marcus came home from school later, tossed his backpack on the basement steps, and went straight to his phone. He barely looked at Diana. "How was school?" she asked. "Fine." "Just fine?" "Mom, I'm tired." She knew that tone. It meant, leave me alone. It meant, I don't want to talk about how embarrassing my life is right now. That night, Diana returned to the market. Her muscles still ached, but she moved a little faster, cleaned a little better. Lou taught her the trick to getting gum off the floors, ice cubes, then scrape, and which bathroom stalls needed extra attention. The third one, always the third one. Around 3 a.m. during their break, Diana found herself watching the empty vendor stalls again. The dumpling place, the cookie stall, the fancy cheese vendor. Each one a small business, a small dream. "Lou," she said, "these vendors, do they make good money?" Lou laughed his car engine laugh. "Some do, some don't. Depends on the product, the location, the hustle. Why, you thinking of opening a stall?" He said it like a joke, but something clicked in Diana's mind. Not a full thought yet, just a spark. "Maybe," she said, "someday." "Well, if you do, make sure it's something people can't resist, something that makes them stop in their tracks." He grinned. "And give me free samples." Diana smiled. It was the first time she'd smiled in weeks. Back in the basement at dawn, unable to sleep, she opened her laptop and searched how to start a food business in Philadelphia. The results were overwhelming. Permits, licenses, health inspections, commercial kitchens, insurance. She closed the laptop. It was a stupid idea anyway. She had $200 in savings and no business experience. But as she finally drifted off to sleep, she couldn't stop thinking about those empty stalls, waiting to be filled with something people couldn't resist. It started with a cardboard box in Rebecca's garage. Diana had been living in the basement for 3 weeks when she decided to go through the storage boxes she'd brought from the old apartment. Most of it was junk she should have thrown away years ago. Old tax returns, broken picture frames, Marcus's third-grade art projects. But at the bottom of one box, wrapped in a faded dish towel, she found her mother's recipe book. Diana sat on the cold garage floor and opened it carefully. The pages were yellowed and stained, covered in her mother's neat handwriting. Pot roast, chicken soup, Irish soda bread. And there, on page 17, the recipe Diana had forgotten about, Rose Brennan's famous cheesecake. The memory hit her like a wave. She was 12 years old, standing on a step stool in their kitchen in West Philadelphia, watching her mother mix cream cheese and sugar. Her mother had made that cheesecake for every special occasion. Birthdays, holidays, the time Diana's father got promoted at the factory. The secret, her mother had said, is patience. You can't rush perfection, Diana girl. Diana closed her eyes. Her mother had died 6 years ago, before everything fell apart, before the divorce, before the job losses, before Diana became the kind of person who lived in her sister's basement. What would Rose Brennan think of her daughter now? That night at work, Diana couldn't stop thinking about the recipe. During her break, she sat with Lou and asked him a question that had been forming in her mind. Those vendors at the market, how do they get started? Lou bit into his sandwich. You serious about this? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. That's the spirit, Lou said dryly. Look, most of them start at the farmers' markets or the flea markets. Test their products, build a customer base, save up enough for a stall here. It's not rocket science, but it's not easy either. What about permits and all that? You need a food handler's license, liability insurance, and you got to use a commercial kitchen. Can't cook this stuff at home and sell it. Health department will shut you down faster than you can say salmonella. Diana's brief flicker of hope dimmed. Commercial kitchen. Insurance. She could barely afford gas for her car. But the idea wouldn't let go. The next evening before her shift, Diana stopped at the giant supermarket on Passyunk Avenue. She stood in the baking aisle for a long time, looking at cream cheese prices. 8 boxes would cost $32. Graham crackers, sugar, eggs, vanilla, sour cream, total $53 and change. It was money she didn't have to spare, but she bought the ingredients anyway, feeling reckless and stupid and alive in a way she hadn't felt in months. Back at Rebecca's house, she waited until everyone was asleep. Then she crept upstairs to the kitchen and spread out her mother's recipe book on the counter. The kitchen was small but functional, with white cabinets and black granite countertops that Rebecca kept spotless. Diana felt like an intruder, but she couldn't do this in the basement's mini-fridge setup. She mixed the filling exactly as her mother had written. Cream cheese softened to room temperature, sugar creamed until fluffy. Eggs added one at a time. The smell brought back everything. Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings, the sound of her mother's laugh. The crust was graham crackers crushed with butter, pressed into a springform pan. The filling poured smooth and golden into Rebecca's oven at 325 degrees. Then Diana sat at the kitchen table and waited. 45 minutes later, the cheesecake came out perfect. Golden top, slight jiggle in the center, exactly like her mother's. Diana let it cool, then covered it and put it in the refrigerator. She was cleaning up when Rebecca appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a bathrobe, her hair in a messy bun. "Diana, it's 2 in the morning. What are you doing?" "I'm sorry, I couldn't sleep, Diana gestured helplessly at the kitchen, which, despite her cleaning, still showed evidence of her baking project. Rebecca looked at the dirty mixing bowls in the sink, the flour on the counter, the empty cream cheese wrappers. "Are you baking?" "I made Mum's cheesecake." Rebecca's expression softened. "Oh." She sat down at the table. "I haven't had that in years." "Me neither." They sat in silence for a moment. Rebecca had been 14 when their mother died, young enough that some memories had faded, but not this one. "Can I try it?" Rebecca asked. "It needs to chill overnight." "Tomorrow then." Rebecca stood up. I know things are hard right now, but you can't be baking at 2 in the morning in my kitchen. Greg has to get up at 6 for work." "I know, I'm sorry." Rebecca paused at the doorway. "Why are you really doing this?" Diana wanted to explain about the market vendors, about Lou's advice, about the spark of an idea that wouldn't leave her alone, but it sounded crazy, even in her own head. "I don't know," she said. "I guess I just needed to make something that wasn't a mess." Rebecca nodded slowly. "Okay, but next time, ask first." The next evening, Diana cut into the cheesecake before her shift. It was perfect. Creamy, rich, with just the right amount of tang from the sour cream. She cut a slice for Rebecca and Greg, left it on a plate with a note. "Thank you for everything." At work, she brought a slice for Lou. He took one bite and stopped. Holy hell, Diana. Good? Good? This is ridiculous. What is this? Crack cocaine in cheesecake form. Diana laughed. It's my mother's recipe. Your mother was a genius. Lou took another bite, closed his eyes. You know what you should do with this? What? Sell it. I'm serious. People would pay good money for this. I can't just start selling cheesecake, Lou. I don't have a commercial kitchen. I don't have money for permits. Details. Lou waved his hand. Start small. There's a flea market in Manayunk every Sunday. My cousin runs a stall there, sells vintage records. $50 for a spot. You could test it out, see if people bite. Diana wanted to say it was impossible, but she thought about her bank account, which now had $400 after 3 weeks of night shifts. She thought about Lily's face when Diana had told her about the cleaning job. She thought about living in Rebecca's basement for the rest of her life. $50, she asked. $50, Lou confirmed. My cousin's name is Terry. I'll text you his number. That night, Diana couldn't concentrate on cleaning. Her mind was racing with calculations. If she made 3 cheesecakes, cut each into 12 slices, sold them for $5 a slice, that was $180. Minus the cost of ingredients and the vendor fee, she'd clear about $60 profit. $60. It wasn't much, but it was something she had created, not something she had cleaned up after someone else. When she got home that morning, Lily was in the kitchen eating toast. She looked at Diana, really looked at her, for the first time in days. Aunt Rebecca said you made Grandma's cheesecake. I did. Can I try some? Diana cut a slice and watched as Lily took a bite. Her daughter's eyes widened. Oh my God, Mom, this is amazing. Really? Really? Dad's wife tries to make fancy desserts all the time, but they taste like Pinterest fails. This is actually good. It was the nicest thing Lily had said to her in months. Diana felt something crack open in her chest, something that had been closed tight. I'm thinking about selling it, Diana said, at a flea market. Lily looked at her. Seriously? Seriously. I know it sounds crazy. It doesn't sound crazy, Lily interrupted. It sounds cool, actually. She paused. Can I help? Diana stared at her daughter. You want to help me sell cheesecake at a flea market? I mean, it's better than sitting around here all weekend. And if we're going to be poor, we might as well be interesting poor. Diana laughed. It came out half sob, half giggle. Okay, she said. Okay, yeah, let's do it. That Sunday couldn't come fast enough. Sunday morning came with rain. Diana stood at the basement window at 5 a.m., watching water stream down the glass, and felt her stomach drop. She had spent the entire previous day making 3 cheesecakes in Rebecca's kitchen, carefully wrapping each slice in plastic wrap, arranging them in a borrowed cooler with ice packs. Lily appeared beside her, already dressed in jeans and a hoodie. It's just rain, Mum. We're still going, right? Diana looked at her daughter. When had Lily become braver than her? Yeah, Diana said, we're still going. They loaded the cooler into the Civic's trunk, along with a folding table Rebecca had lent them, a vinyl tablecloth Diana had found at the dollar store, and a hand-painted sign Lily had made that read, Rose's Cheesecake, in careful letters. The drive to Manayunk took 30 minutes through rain-slicked streets. The neighborhood sat along the Squealkill River, all brick buildings and steep hills. The flea market was set up in a parking lot behind Main Street, under a series of white tents that flapped in the wind. Terry, Lou's cousin, was a woman in her 60s with purple hair and more piercings than seemed structurally sound. She pointed to a spot near the back. $50 cash, she said. You get a 10 by 10 space. Ends at 3. Diana handed over the money, feeling each dollar leave her hand like a small goodbye. They set up the table, which wobbled because the parking lot was uneven. The tablecloth kept blowing off until Lily weighted it down with rocks. The sign looked homemade and amateurish next to the professional displays around them. By 9 a.m., when the market officially opened, only a handful of people had shown up. Most of them hurried past, hunched against the rain, not even glancing at Diana's table. At 10 a.m., they'd sold nothing. Diana's hands were cold. Lily scrolled through her phone, trying to look casual but clearly embarrassed. Maybe we should have picked a different day, Diana said. It's fine, Mom. Lily, nobody's even stopping. So we make them stop? Lily stood up, grabbed a slice of cheesecake and walked to the edge of their space. When a middle-aged couple walked by, she called out, "Free sample, homemade cheesecake." The couple paused. The woman, wearing a raincoat and carrying an umbrella, looked skeptical. "It's really good," Lily said, holding out a plastic fork. "My grandma's recipe." The woman took a small bite. Her expression changed. Oh, that's actually delicious." $5 a slice," Lily said smoothly. "We take cash or Venmo." The woman bought 2 slices. The man bought 1. That was $15, their first sale, and Diana wanted to cry from relief. Lily turned to her, grinning. "See? We just needed to be aggressive about it." For the next hour, Lily worked the crowd like she'd been born to it. She called out to passers-by, offered samples, told people about Rose Brennan's famous recipe. Some people ignored her. Some people were rude. But some people stopped, tried the cheesecake, and bought a slice. By noon, they'd sold 18 slices, $90. Diana did the math in her head. Minus the $50 vendor fee and the ingredient costs, they'd made about $25 profit. $25. It was nothing. It was everything. Then the disaster happened. Diana was wrapping a slice for a customer when a gust of wind caught their sign. It tumbled across the parking lot and landed in a puddle. Lily ran after it, but the cardboard had already started to disintegrate. "It's ruined," Lily said, holding up the soggy mess. "It's okay, we can make another one. Everything okay over here?" A woman had appeared next to their table. She was probably in her 30s, wearing expensive rain boots and carrying a professional camera. "I'm Zoe Chen. I write a food blog called Philly Bites." Diana's brain stopped working. A food blogger. Here, at her pathetic little table with the wobbling legs and the destroyed sign. "Oh," Diana managed. "Hi, we're selling cheesecake." "I can see that." Zoe smiled. "Can I try a sample?" Diana's hands shook as she cut a slice. Zoe took a bite, chewed thoughtfully, took another bite. "This is really good," Zoe said. "Like, really good. Where's your shop?" "We don't have a shop," Lily said. "We're just starting out. This is our first day selling." "First day? Seriously?" Zoe pulled out her phone. "Can I take some photos and get your contact info?" "Why?" Diana asked. "Because I want to write about this. Local mom, homemade recipe, Sunday flea market. It's exactly the kind of story my readers love." Zoe looked at Diana. "If that's okay with you?" Diana looked at Lily, who was nodding enthusiastically. "Yes," Diana heard herself say. "Yes, that would be amazing." Zoe took photos of the cheesecake, of their table, of Diana and Lily standing together. She bought 3 slices and left her business card. After she left, Diana and Lily just stood there, staring at each other. "Did that just happen?" Lily asked. "I think so." "Mum, a food blogger." "That's huge. Do you know how many people follow these blogs?" Diana didn't, but she was starting to understand that something had shifted. This wasn't just about $25 profit anymore. By 2 p.m., they'd sold out. Every single slice. Some customers had come back for seconds. One man bought 4 slices to take home to his family. As they packed up, Terry came over. "You did good, kid. Want the same spot next week?" Diana didn't hesitate. "Yes, absolutely yes." In the car on the way home, Lily counted the money. $180 total. After expenses, we made about $75 profit. $75 for 1 day of work. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was money Diana had earned by creating something, not by cleaning up after others. "We could do this every weekend," Lily said. "Make more cheesecakes, try different flavors." "I still have to work nights at the market," Diana reminded her. "So we work weekends, you work nights. People do harder things, Mom." Diana glanced at her daughter. When had Lily stopped being embarrassed by their situation? When had she started believing in this crazy idea? That night, before her shift, Diana checked her email. There was a message from Zoe Chen. "Hi Diana, I posted about your cheesecake on my blog and Instagram. Just wanted to give you a heads up. You might get some attention. Here's the link. Best Zoe." Diana clicked the link. There was a photo of her and Lily, both smiling despite the rain, with the caption, "Found this hidden gem at the Manayunk Flea Market today. Rose's cheesecake is everything you want in a dessert. Creamy, rich, made with love. Diana Brennan is a single mom making magic happen 1 slice at a time." Support local. Philly food. Hidden gems. Support local. The post had 847 likes and 63 comments. Diana read through them, her hands shaking. I need this in my life. Where can I buy this? This looks amazing. Supporting local businesses is so important. At work that night, Lou found her sitting on a bench, staring at her phone. You okay? He asked. I think something's happening, Diana said. I don't know what, but something's happening. Lou looked at the blog post, then at Diana. You know what this means, right? What? You're going to need more cheesecake. Diana laughed, the sound echoing through the empty market. For the first time in months, maybe years, she felt something that resembled hope. It was terrifying and exhilarating and completely unexpected. But she'd take it. Diana's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. It started Monday morning and didn't let up. Messages on Instagram, comments on Zoe's blog post, emails to the address Lily had hastily created, rosescheesecake@agmail.com. Can I order a whole cheesecake? Do you deliver? Will you be at the market next Sunday? Can I hire you for my daughter's birthday party? By Monday evening, Diana had 43 messages. By Tuesday, 91. She sat in Rebecca's basement, her night shift looming in 3 hours, trying to answer them all. Lily burst through the door. Mum, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The good kind. I posted those photos from Sunday on TikTok, and one of them got 50,000 views. People want to order cheesecakes. Diana stared at her daughter. 50,000? People love the underdog story. Single mom, dead grandmother's recipe, rainy flea market. It's like catnip for TikTok. Lily sat on the bed. So what do we do? What did they do? Diana worked 6 nights a week cleaning floors. She lived in her sister's basement. She had maybe 6 hours between getting home and needing to sleep before the next shift. When exactly was she supposed to bake dozens of cheesecakes? I don't know, Diana admitted. We could take orders for next Sunday, Lily suggested. Pre-orders only. That way we know exactly how many to make. It made sense. It was also terrifying. What if they couldn't keep up? What if the cheesecakes weren't as good the second time? What if this whole thing fell apart as quickly as it had come together? Okay, Diana said. Let's try it. They set up a simple system. People could DM the Instagram account to order. Whole cheesecakes only, $30 each, pick up at the Manayunk Market on Sunday. No delivery, no exceptions. By Wednesday, they had 12 orders. By Thursday, 23. By Friday, 31 orders, 31 cheesecakes. That meant staying up for 2 nights straight, baking in shifts, using every inch of Rebecca's kitchen. It meant spending over $300 on ingredients, money Diana didn't exactly have. She approached Rebecca on Friday evening. Her sister was making dinner, chopping vegetables with sharp, efficient movements. Becca, I need to ask you something. Rebecca looked up. If it's about using the kitchen all weekend, the answer is yes, but you need to clean up after yourself this time. Greg found cream cheese under the stove. I'm sorry about that, but it's also about money. I need to buy ingredients for 31 cheesecakes, and I'm short about $150. I'll pay you back next week after we sell them, I promise. Rebecca put down her knife. 31 orders? Diana, that's amazing. It's terrifying is what it is. It's both. Rebecca wiped her hands on a towel. I'll lend you the money. But Di, you need to think about this seriously. What happens when you get 50 orders? 100? You can't keep doing this in my kitchen at 3 in the morning. I know, but I have to start somewhere. Rebecca nodded slowly. Okay, but you need a plan. A real plan. Diana knew she was right, but right now, she had 31 cheesecakes to make and 48 hours to do it. Saturday morning, Diana took her first sick day from the market. She felt guilty calling Vincent, but Lou covered for her, said she had food poisoning. It wasn't entirely a lie. She felt sick with anxiety. She and Lily started baking at 8 a.m. Marcus wandered into the kitchen around 10, drawn by the smell. What's all this? He asked. We're making cheesecakes for orders, Lily said. Want to help? Marcus shrugged, which Diana had learned was teenager for yes. He started crushing graham crackers for crusts, his earbuds in, but present. It was the most time Diana had spent with both her kids in months. They worked in assembly line fashion, Marcus on crusts, Lily on mixing filling, Diana on baking and cooling. They barely talked, but there was something comfortable about it, something that felt almost like a family. By Saturday evening, they'd made 18 cheesecakes. Diana's feet ached, her back screamed, but the kitchen was filled with the sweet smell of vanilla and cream cheese, and her children were still there, still helping. "We should give them names," Lily said suddenly. "The cheesecakes?" Diana asked. "No, the flavors, like the original is Rose's classic, but we could do different versions. Chocolate, strawberry, salted caramel." "We don't have time for experiments right now," Diana said. "Not now, but eventually. If we're going to do this for real, we need variety." Diana looked at her daughter covered in flour, hair in a messy ponytail, talking about business strategy like she'd been doing this her whole life. "When did you get so smart?" Diana asked. Lily smiled. "I've always been smart. You just haven't been paying attention." The words stung because they were true. Diana had been so lost in her own failure that she'd missed her daughter growing up. They worked through the night, taking shifts, sleeping on the couch. By Sunday morning at 6 a.m., they had 31 perfect cheesecakes, each in a box Lily had bought from a restaurant supply store in South Philly. At the market, the response was overwhelming. People lined up before they'd even finished setting up. Some had driven from across the city. One woman had come from New Jersey. "I saw you on TikTok," she said. "My mother used to make cheesecake like this before she passed. I just wanted to taste something like hers again." Diana handed her the cheesecake and the woman's eyes got wet. "Thank you," she whispered. It wasn't just about dessert, Diana realized. It was about memory, about comfort, about something homemade in a world of factory-produced everything. By noon, they'd sold all 31 cheesecakes, $930. After expenses, they'd cleared about $400 profit. $400 in one day. Diana sat on the folding chair behind their table and let out a long breath. Lily sat next to her, both of them too tired to move. "We did it," Lily said. "We did. Mom, we could actually make this work. Like really work." Diana wanted to believe her, but she also knew the math. Even if they sold this many every week, it was still only $1,600 a month. Not enough to move out of Rebecca's basement. Not enough to quit the night job. Not enough to build a real life on. But it was more than she'd had 2 weeks ago. It was hope in the shape of cream cheese and graham crackers. Terry walked over as they were packing up. "You ladies caused quite a scene today. People are already asking when you'll be back." "Next week," Diana said. "Same time." "Good, because I'm raising your vendor fee to $75. Diana's stomach dropped. "What? Why?" "Supply and demand, honey. You got 30 people lined up before 9 a.m. That's premium space territory." Terry shrugged. "Still a deal compared to what you're making." After she walked away, Lily turned to Diana. "Is she allowed to do that?" "Probably. We don't exactly have a contract." "That's not fair." "No," Diana agreed, "but nothing about this has been fair. We just have to work with what we've got." On the drive home, both kids asleep in the back seat, Diana's phone buzzed. A text from Lou. "Vincent wants to see you Monday. Something about your sick day. Might want to prepare an explanation." Diana's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Of course, nothing good ever lasted. But for now, she had $400 in her pocket, 2 sleeping teenagers in her car, and the lingering smell of vanilla on her clothes. Tomorrow, she'd figure out how to explain to Vincent. Tomorrow, she'd worry about the raised vendor fees and the unsustainable schedule. Tonight, she'd let herself feel something she hadn't felt in a long time. Proud. Vincent's office was barely bigger than a closet, wedged between the loading dock and the maintenance supply room. Diana stood in the doorway Monday afternoon, still exhausted from the weekend, her cleaning uniform already on for that night's shift. Vincent didn't look up from his computer. "Close the door." Diana obeyed, her heart hammering. "Lou said you had food poisoning Saturday night," Vincent said. "That true?" Diana had never been a good liar. "No." Vincent finally looked at her. "Want to tell me what you were really doing?" "I was baking. Cheesecakes. I've started a small side business, and I had orders to fill." The words came out in a rush. "It won't happen again. I can work extra shifts to make up for it." "A side business?" Vincent leaned back in his chair. "Diana, you know our policy. If you're working another job, you need to report it. We need to know you can handle both schedules." I can handle it. Can you? Because Lou says you've been distracted lately, making mistakes. Last week you forgot to lock the 12th Street entrance. Diana's stomach sank. She had forgotten. She'd been thinking about ingredient costs and vendor fees instead of paying attention to her work. I'm sorry, she said. It won't happen again. Vincent sighed. He looked tired, like a man who'd had this conversation too many times. Look, I'm not trying to be the bad guy here, but I got a business to run. I need people who show up, do their jobs, don't leave doors unlocked. You understand? Yes. So here's what's going to happen. You're getting a written warning. One more screw-up and I have to let you go. Those are the rules. Diana nodded, her throat tight. She couldn't afford to lose this job. The cheesecake money was good, but it wasn't steady. It wasn't reliable. It wasn't enough. That night she worked harder than ever. Every floor gleamed, every bathroom sparkled. She double-checked every lock, every light switch. Lou found her at 2 a.m. scrubbing the same counter for the third time. You're going to wear a hole in it, he said. I can't lose this job, Lou. I know. He sat down on a nearby bench. But you also can't keep burning the candle at both ends. You're going to collapse. What choice do I have? The cheesecake thing could disappear tomorrow. People's attention spans are about 5 seconds long. I need this job as backup. Or, Lou said carefully, the cheesecake thing could grow into something real, but not if you're too exhausted to think straight. Diana sat down next to him. Her whole body ached. I don't know how to do this, Lou. I don't know how to build a business. I barely know how to keep my life together. Nobody knows how to do it until they do it. You think I plan to be a 65-year-old janitor? I thought I'd be touring with Bruce Springsteen by now. He smiled sadly. But life doesn't care about your plans. You just got to work with what you've got. That's not exactly inspiring. No, but it's true. Lou stood up. Go home, Diana. Get some sleep. You look like death. The next few weeks fell into a brutal rhythm. Diana worked her night shifts, came home at dawn, slept until noon, then spent the afternoon and evening baking with Lily. Every Sunday they sold out at the market. Every Monday Diana dragged herself back to work, exhausted. The orders kept growing. 40 cheesecakes one week, 52 the next. They had to start turning people away because they physically couldn't make more. We need help, Lily said one evening, mixing her third batch of filling. Or we need a commercial kitchen, or both. Commercial kitchens cost money we don't have, Diana said. Then we need investors. Or a business loan. Diana laughed bitterly. Banks don't give loans to 44-year-old women living in basements with no collateral and $600 in savings. Have you tried? I don't need to try. I know how this works. You don't know until you ask, Lily insisted. What's the worst that can happen? They say no, we're already broke. No is just our current situation. It was hard to argue with that logic. The next day, Diana walked into a Wells Fargo branch on Walnut Street. She wore her best outfit, which was a dress she'd bought for a job interview 3 months ago. She'd printed out their sales records, basic financial projections that Lily had helped her create, and photos of the lines at their market stall. The loan officer was a young man named Christopher, who couldn't have been more than 30. He looked at her materials with the expression of someone examining a child's crayon drawing. Mrs. Brennan, he started. It's Miss, Diana corrected. I'm divorced. Miss Brennan, I appreciate you coming in, but I have to be honest with you. Based on what I'm seeing here, I can't approve a business loan. You have no business credit history, limited personal credit, no physical location, no formal business plan. I have sales, Diana interrupted. Real sales, real customers, real growth. For 7 weeks, Christopher said gently. That's not enough data to establish a pattern. We need to see at least a year of consistent revenue before we can consider a small business loan. A year? How am I supposed to grow if I can't get capital to expand? Christopher gave her a sympathetic look that made Diana want to throw her folder at him. I understand your frustration. My suggestion would be to continue building your track record, maybe look into microloans or crowdfunding. Establish a formal business entity. Come back in 6 months to a year, and we'll revisit this. Diana left the bank feeling smaller than when she'd entered. On the sidewalk outside, she stood among the lunchtime crowd in downtown Philadelphia and felt completely invisible. All these people in suits, heading to jobs in offices, probably never wondering where their next paycheck would come from. Her phone rang. It was Rebecca. Di, we need to talk. Can you come home? What's wrong? Just come home. Diana drove back to South Philly with a sense of dread. When she arrived, Rebecca was waiting in the kitchen, her arms crossed. Greg and I have been talking, Rebecca said. And we love you, we want to support you, but this can't keep going the way it's going. What do you mean? The kitchen, Diana. You're using it 6 days a week. There's always flour everywhere. The oven's always on, we can't cook our own meals half the time. And the smell, it's making Greg's clothes smell like vanilla at work. I clean up. Not well enough. And it's not just that. The electric bill has gone up. The water bill. You're running a business out of our house without contributing to the costs. Diana felt her face flush. I've been giving you money. $200 a month doesn't cover what you're using. We need to set some boundaries. Either you find a commercial kitchen or you need to scale back significantly. Scale back? Rebecca, this is the first thing that's worked for me in years. I'm finally making progress. And I'm happy for you. But not at the expense of my marriage and my home. Rebecca's voice softened. I'm not saying stop, I'm saying find another way. You're smart, you'll figure it out. Diana went down to the basement and sat on the bed. Lily was at school. Marcus was at Robert's house. She was alone with the weight of everything pressing down on her. No loan, no kitchen, no clear path forward. She could give up. Go back to just working nights. Forget about the cheesecakes. Accept that this was as good as her life was going to get. Or she could figure something else out. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lou. You coming to work tonight? Diana stared at the message. In that moment, she realized something. She'd been trying to do both. Keep one foot in the old life while building a new one. But you couldn't do that forever. Eventually, you had to choose. She typed back, I need to talk to Vincent. Is he there? 20 minutes later, Diana stood in Vincent's office again. I'm quitting, she said, before he could speak. I'm giving you 2 weeks' notice. Vincent raised his eyebrows. The cheesecake business? Yes, I don't know if it'll work, but I need to try, really try, not with one foot out the door. That's either the bravest or the stupidest thing I've heard all week, Vincent said. Maybe both. Probably both, Diana agreed. After she left, she sat in her car in the parking lot and let the reality sink in. She'd just quit her only stable income. She had no commercial kitchen, no loan, no backup plan. But she also had something she hadn't had in a long time, complete commitment to something she'd chosen for herself. It was terrifying, but maybe that's what courage always felt like. Diana had $1,200 in savings, no kitchen, and 2 weeks until her night job ended. She needed a miracle. What she got was Dolores Huang. Diana was at Reading Terminal Market on a Thursday afternoon, picking up supplies, when she saw the woman Lou had pointed out weeks ago. Dolores was standing at her dumpling stall, watching the lunch crowd with sharp, assessing eyes. Diana almost walked past, but then she remembered what Lou had said. She pays attention. She learns. That's how you win. Excuse me, Diana said. Are you Dolores Huang? The woman turned. She was petite, probably in her 60s, with silver-streaked hair pulled into a neat bun. Yes. And you are? Diana Brennan. I worked on the night cleaning crew here. I have a small cheesecake business, and I'm trying to figure out how to grow. And Lou said you started with almost nothing, and I just wondered if maybe you had any advice. Diana heard herself rambling and forced herself to stop. Dolores studied her for a long moment. You're the one making those cheesecakes everyone's talking about. You've heard of them. I pay attention. Dolores smiled slightly. Come with me. She led Diana through the market to her small office overlooking the main floor. The walls were covered with photos. A young Dolores pushing a cart. The same cart with a line of customers. Gradually bigger spaces, then multiple locations. I came here from Taiwan with $300 and a dumpling recipe, Dolores said. That was 1994. Everyone told me I was crazy. Too old to start over. Wrong neighborhood. Too much competition. She pointed to the photos. I didn't listen to them. I listened to the customers. How did you afford to start? I couldn't afford a stall, so I used a cart. I couldn't afford a commercial kitchen, so I rented time in a church kitchen, 3 hours every morning, $50 a week. I made dumplings from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., then sold them here until they ran out. Every day, 7 days a week for 3 years. Diana felt something shift inside her. A church kitchen. I didn't know that was possible. Most people don't. There are churches all over this city with commercial kitchens they rent out to help pay their bills. You just have to ask. Dolores pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is Father Michael at St. Augustine's in South Philly. Tell him I sent you. He might be able to help. Diana took the card, her hands trembling. Thank you. I don't know how to repay you. Make good cheesecake. Support other people when you make it. That's how you repay me. St. Augustine's was a brick church on 4th Street, 3 blocks from Rebecca's house. Father Michael was a white-haired Irish priest with laugh lines and a surprisingly firm handshake. Dolores says you make cheesecake, he said, leading Diana down to the church basement. Yes, Father. Call me Mike. Everyone does. He unlocked a door to reveal a full commercial kitchen, industrial ovens, a 6-burner stove, 2 large refrigerators, stainless steel prep tables. We use it for community meals and fundraisers, but it sits empty most of the week. $75 gets you 12 hours. You clean up after yourself, follow health codes, and we're good. Diana did the math in her head. If she worked efficiently, she could make 40 cheesecakes in 12 hours. At $30 each, that was $1,200 in sales, minus ingredients and the rental fee. It could work. When can I start? She asked. Tomorrow, if you want. That night, Diana told the kids about the church kitchen. Marcus just shrugged, but Lily's face lit up. This is perfect, Mum. We can work longer hours, make more product, maybe even try those new flavors I've been researching. I'm not sure about that yet. Mom, we need to innovate. Classic cheesecake is great, but people want variety. I've been looking at trends: salted caramel, chocolate peanut butter, strawberry champagne. These things sell. Diana looked at her daughter, who somewhere along the way had become a business partner instead of just a teenager. Okay, let's try a few experimental batches, but we're not changing the original recipe. Never, Lily agreed solemnly. Grandma Rose's recipe is sacred. The next morning, Diana walked into St. Augustine's kitchen at 6 a.m. and got to work. The space was a revelation: room to move, proper equipment, multiple ovens going at once. By noon, she'd made 20 cheesecakes, more than she'd ever done in a full day at Rebecca's house. Father Mike stopped by around 1 p.m. How's it going? It's incredible. This kitchen is incredible. Glad to hear it. Mind if I try a sample? Diana cut him a slice. He took one bite and closed his eyes. Sweet Mary and Joseph, he said. That's extraordinary. What do you call it? Just Rose's cheesecake. After my mother. You should give it a proper name. Something that tells a story. He thought for a moment. The Philadelphia Dream. Because that's what this is, isn't it? Someone chasing their dream in this city. Diana felt tears prick her eyes. The Philadelphia Dream cheesecake. I like that. Then it's settled. And Diana, I'm going to mention this to the congregation on Sunday. You might get some orders. By the next Sunday at the Manayunk Market, they had 60 pre-orders. Diana had worked 3 12-hour shifts at the church kitchen. Every muscle ached, but the cheesecakes were perfect. 40 classics and 20 experimental flavors. The market was chaos. People who had ordered showed up early to claim their cheesecakes. People who hadn't ordered wanted to buy whatever was left. A line formed that stretched down the block. Zoe Chen appeared with her camera. Diana, I heard you're calling it the Philadelphia Dream now. That's brilliant. It was Father Mike's idea. Father Mike from St. Augustine's. That's even better. The priest and the cheesecake maker. Zoe was already typing on her phone. This is going to make a great follow-up story. By noon, they'd sold everything. $1,800 in sales. After expenses, nearly $800 profit. Diana sat in her car afterwards, staring at the money. In one day, she'd made more than she used to make in 2 weeks of night shifts. Her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. Hello? Diana Brennan? This is Margaret Chen from the Reading Terminal Market Merchant Association. We've been following your progress, and we'd like to discuss the possibility of you taking a vendor stall here. Would you be available to meet this week? Diana's heart stopped. A stall? At Reading Terminal? Yes. We have an opening in February. I know it's short notice, but we think you'd be a good fit. The rent is $3,000 a month, plus utilities and merchant association fees. If you're interested, we can discuss the details. After she hung up, Diana just sat there. A stall at Reading Terminal Market. The dream she'd been cleaning floors to barely glimpse. It was right there, within reach. Except for one problem: $3,000 a month. Even with her current sales, that was tight. And what if business slowed down? What if people got bored with cheesecake? What if this whole thing was just a moment, not a movement? That evening, she called a family meeting in Rebecca's kitchen. Lily, Marcus, and even Rebecca sat around the table. "I got offered a stall at Reading Terminal Market," Diana said. Lily gasped. "Mom, that's amazing!" "It's also expensive and risky. If I say yes, I'm committing to something huge. If I say no, I might never get this chance again." "What do you want to do?" Rebecca asked. Diana looked at her sister, her kids, all of them watching her, waiting for her to decide. 6 months ago, she'd been living in a barely maintained apartment in Fishtown, too afraid to dream about anything beyond making rent. Now she was sitting here considering whether to take a stall at one of Philadelphia's most famous markets. "I want to say yes," Diana said quietly. "I'm scared out of my mind, but I want to say yes." Marcus spoke for the first time. "Then say yes, Mom." Everyone looked at him. "What?" he said. "You've been working harder than anyone I know. If you want it, go get it." Diana felt something crack open in her chest. Her son, who'd barely spoken to her for months, believed in her. "Okay," she said, "I'll do it." Lily squealed and hugged her. Rebecca smiled, her eyes wet. Marcus gave a small nod, which was basically a standing ovation in teenage boy language. That night, Diana emailed Margaret Chen, "I'm in." Then she lay in bed in the basement staring at the ceiling, wondering if she'd just made the best or worst decision of her life. Probably both, she decided, but at least it was her decision. February 14th, Valentine's Day, the day Diana Brennan's stall opened at Reading Terminal Market. She'd been awake since 3 a.m., baking at St. Augustine's. Now at 7 a.m. she stood in front of her new space, a small stall between the flower vendor and a coffee roaster, and felt like she might throw up. The sign above read, "The Philadelphia Dream," in elegant script. Inside, glass display cases waited to be filled with cheesecakes, a small prep area in back, a register that still made Diana nervous every time she used it. 3 months ago she'd been cleaning these floors. Now she owned a piece of them. "Mom, stop staring and start setting up." Lily appeared with a cart full of cheesecakes. "We open in 2 hours and we still need to arrange everything." Marcus followed with another cart. Over the past months, he'd become their unofficial logistics manager, organizing deliveries and managing inventory with a spreadsheet he'd created himself. "Where do you want the classic cheesecakes?" he asked. "Front and center," Diana said, "everything else around them." They had 8 flavors now: Rose's Classic, salted caramel, chocolate peanut butter, strawberry champagne, cookies and cream, lemon blueberry, triple chocolate, and pumpkin spice. Lily's experiments had paid off. Each flavor had its own following. Rebecca arrived at 8 a.m. with Greg, both carrying boxes of supplies. Her sister had been skeptical at first, but she'd come around. More than that, she'd become one of Diana's biggest supporters. "I brought napkins, forks, and way too much nervous energy," Rebecca said, hugging Diana. "You ready for this?" "No," Diana admitted. "But I'm doing it anyway." Lou showed up at 8:30, wearing his cleanest jeans and a button-down shirt Diana had never seen before. "Had to look presentable for your big day," he said. "Brought you something." He handed her a small wrapped package. Inside was a guitar pick on a chain. "That's from my session days," Lou explained. "Used it when I played with John Mellencamp's band in '89. It's for luck, you're going to need it." Diana's eyes welled up. "Lou, I can't take this." "You can and you will. You took a chance on a crazy dream. That's the most rock and roll thing I've ever seen. Now go make something of it." At 9 a.m. Dolores Huang appeared with Father Mike. They'd both become part of Diana's unlikely support system, the Taiwanese immigrant entrepreneur and the Irish Catholic priest, both believers in second chances. "The space looks beautiful," Dolores said. "Your mother would be proud." Diana thought about Rose Brennan, who'd made cheesecakes in a tiny West Philadelphia kitchen and never imagined they'd end up here. "I hope so." Father Mike blessed the stall, which made Lily roll her eyes, but made Diana feel grounded. "May this place bring nourishment and joy to all who enter," he said, "and may Diana Brennan know that she's already succeeded, regardless of what happens today." At 9:45, Zoe Chen arrived with her camera and a small crowd of her followers. She'd been documenting Diana's journey for months, and her blog posts had helped build the anticipation for this opening. "Ready for the moment?" Zoe asked. Diana looked at her stall, at the cheesecakes arranged perfectly in the display cases, at Lily and Marcus in matching aprons that said "The Philadelphia Dream" in small letters, at Lou and Rebecca and Dolores and Father Mike, all of them here because they believed in her. "Ready," she said. At 10 a.m., Reading Terminal Market opened its doors. Within minutes, a line had formed at Diana's stall. Some were regulars from the Manayunk market, others had followed Zoe's blog. Some were just curious tourists who'd heard the buzz. "Can I get a classic and a salted caramel?" a woman asked. "I'll take 2 triple chocolates," said a man in a suit. "Are you really the woman who used to clean here at night?" asked an elderly tourist from Ohio. When Diana confirmed it, the woman teared up. "That's the American dream right there. I'll take 4 cheesecakes to bring home." The rush didn't stop. By noon, they'd sold 65 slices and 12 whole cheesecakes. Diana's hands moved on autopilot, cutting, wrapping, taking payments, thanking customers. Lily handled the register while Marcus restocked from the back. Around 1 p.m. there was a lull. Diana leaned against the counter, exhausted but exhilarated. That's when Robert walked up. Her ex-husband stood at the counter, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. Melissa was with him, perfectly put together as always. "Hi, Diana," Robert said. "Robert, what are you doing here?" "The kids told me about your opening, thought I'd come by, see what you've built." He looked around at the stall, at the line that was already forming again. "This is impressive." Diana didn't know what to say. This man had left her, had built a new life while she'd been drowning. Part of her wanted him to see her success as vindication, but mostly she just felt tired of caring what he thought. "Thank you," she said simply. Melissa stepped forward. "Can we try a slice? The kids said it's incredible." Diana cut them each a piece of Rose's classic. They took bites and Robert's eyes widened. "Di, this is amazing. Really, I'm proud of you." The words should have meant something. A year ago, they would have. But now Diana realized she didn't need his pride. She had her own. "Thanks for coming," she said. "Lily, Marcus, your dad's here if you want to say hi." As Robert and Melissa walked away, Lily appeared next to Diana. "Are you okay, Mom?" "Yeah," Diana said, surprised to find it was true. "I really am." The afternoon brought more customers, more sales, more moments of connection. A teenager who said Diana's story inspired her to start her own business. A cancer survivor who said the cheesecake tasted like hope. A grandmother who bought a whole cheesecake for her granddaughter's birthday and cried while telling Diana about losing her own daughter. Each person, each story, reminded Diana why she was doing this. It wasn't just about cheesecake. It was about creating something that mattered, something that connected people to memories and feelings and each other. By closing time at 6 p.m., they'd sold everything. Every single slice, every whole cheesecake. The display cases were empty, the register was full, and Diana's feet hurt so badly she could barely stand. But she'd done it. After they cleaned up and locked the stall, the 5 of them, Diana, Lily, Marcus, Rebecca, and Lou, stood in the empty market. Vincent had given Lou the night off, a small gesture that meant everything. "How much did we make?" Lily asked. Diana checked the register. $4,300. After expenses and rent, we cleared about $1,800 in profit. $1,800, Marcus repeated. "In one day." "It won't always be like this," Diana warned. "Valentine's Day is special. Most days will be slower. But even slow days will be better than where we were," Lily said. Lou raised an imaginary glass. "To Diana Brennan, who went from cleaning floors to owning a piece of the American dream, may your cheesecakes always be creamy and your rent always be paid." They all laughed, but Diana felt tears on her cheeks. "I couldn't have done this without all of you," she said. "Lou, you showed me the possibility. Becca, you gave me a place to land when I had nowhere else. Lily and Marcus, you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you." Rebecca hugged her. "You did the hard part, Di. You didn't give up." That night, back in the basement that would soon no longer be home, Diana sat on the bed and looked at the eviction notice she'd kept in a box, the orange paper that had represented her rock bottom. She thought about everything that had happened since that October day. The night shifts, the first batch of cheesecakes, the flea market in the rain, the rejection from the bank, quitting her job, finding the church kitchen, and finally, today's opening. It hadn't been a straight line. It had been messy and scary and uncertain. There had been moments when giving up would have been easier. But she hadn't. She'd kept baking, kept trying, kept moving forward. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Hey Mom, someone just posted a TikTok from today and it already has 100K views. Tomorrow might be even crazier. Get some sleep. Love you." Diana smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Next month's rent was already looming. The business was still fragile, still young. There were no guarantees. But for the first time in years, Diana Brennan wasn't afraid of what came next. She'd learned something in these past months. Rock bottom wasn't the end of the story. Sometimes it was just the beginning. Sometimes you had to fall all the way down to discover what you were really made of, and what she was made of, it turned out, was stronger than she'd ever imagined. Diana pulled out her laptop and opened a new document. At the top she typed, "Business Plan, The Philadelphia Dream, Year 2. Then she started writing. Outside, Philadelphia hummed with its usual chaos, sirens and voices, and the distant rumble of the L. Inside, a 44-year-old divorced mom who'd hit rock bottom was building something new, one cheesecake at a time.